Okay. Yeah, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to have that exchange with you. I'm Jamila. I'm the vice chair of the German Green Party. And I'm really happy that you're interested in our Green Recovery and Resilience Fund and the politics of the European Union in order to combine the resilience facility to recovery from the COVID-19 crisis with ecological and social issues. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the plannings of the European Union. I work in the federal office of our party, but I'm also responsible for the European affairs on the federal level. So I kind of I am part of the European politics and the federal politics in our party. And thank you very much. Maybe to give you a little bit orientation about the political substance of this recovery and resilience facility. This recovery and resilience facility will make 72.5 million in loans and grants, and it will be available to support reforms and also investments that are taken by member states. And this is kind of a game changer also for the politics of the European Union, because in the past, many states, especially the German government, didn't want jointly financed expenditures because it was a very controversial debate if the European Union takes together solidarity financed expenditure or not. And now with the Corona crisis, there was a broader commitment that somehow also was a little bit initiated by the Greens to stand together in that crisis and make those expenditure also possible together. I think that's because many politicians recognized in the European Union that the European single market is somehow something that is everybody is reliant on. And we had to make sure together that it's not breaking down. So we have a new financial crisis, and that's why the solidarity was also strengthened by this Corona crisis. And like you see on the screen, the aim is to mitigate the economic and social impact of the coronavirus pandemic and to make sure that the European economies and societies get more sustainable, resilient, and better prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the green and digital transition. So it kind of includes some green ideas that we have also fought for in the last years already. The Recovery and Resilience Fund was entered into force on the 19th of February 2021, and 312.5 billion are grants, so they do not have to be repaid. And this is the crucial part of the 750 billion Next Generation EU package. And this aims to mitigate the worst economic consequences of Corona crisis and also to launch future-oriented investments. And the remaining 77.5 billion euros are allocated to programs for regional development, for research funding, rural development, and the socially accepted transition to climate neutral economy and strategic investments. So, for example, in the regions where we have coal industry or other industry that has to be faded out, we strongly support those regions with investments that enable building another and sustainable industry there. Yeah. And so the European Recovery Program will not be financed, it will be financed for the first time through common European bonds to be repaid through a common European tax. So this is the new part of it, that it's a solidarity program that is financed together. That's what I already mentioned in the on the first introduction. Yeah, and as a European party family, we wanted to have a common position for this recovery and resilience facility. So we adopted a resolution together as a European Green Party, and it says recovery and resilience facility for a green and just transition. And we adopted that resolution at the last Common Party Council a few weeks ago. And it's about investing in the resilience of our societies, because it must be the overarching objective, in our opinion, of the implementation of the RRF. And this can be achieved if the member states and also the European institutions proactively engage with and fully inform concerned stakeholders at the European level and their countries. And that especially at the local and regional levels, we see that the money also is recognized by the people and comes on the level that are closest to the people, because we want that the people of the European Union also identify and also realize with this transformative projects, because I think that's very crucial to gain majorities in order to achieve this transformation process with the support of the society. Yeah, and some other demands of our 15 demands in this resolution, they say, for example, that we call the European Commission for a rapid development and deployment already in 2021 of the resources in order to give immediate impetus for the green recovery in Europe. So therefore we insist that member states which have not yet done so ratify the own resources decision. And we also call the Commission to encourage member states to go beyond the minimum target laid down in the RRF regulation for positive and transformative environmental and societal impact of their national recovery plans. And we also insisted, in order to ensure that policy coherence and optimal efficiency can be achieved, that the use of the funds that member state assesses in the combined environmental, social and economic impact of all potential projects and prioritize those that exhibit strong synergies, so that it can be used efficiently. And we also called the Commission's guidelines to ensure that this recovery plan stick closely to a letter and spirit of the Commission's gender impact assessment guidelines for the plan. For example, that investing in historically male-dominated sectors without mitigating measures may worsen both the gender employment and the gender pay gap. So simply increasing the number of jobs in female-dominated professions such as care and retail is not enough without simultaneously improving pay and conditions. And that's also something what was very important to us as Greens in that demand. Because Germany receives about 25 billion euros from the European Reconstruction Fund. We demanded that we need, for example, to invest that also in Germany to more climate friendly investments. And our critique was that the European Parliament was able to ensure that 37% of the money in the reconstruction fund must be used for climate protection and at least 20% for digitization measures. But with the German reconstruction plan, the German government is turning the grand plan of the reconstruction fund into an unambitious patchwork somehow. So 80% of the project is offsetting come from the economic stimulus package. The money from the EU aid package must not be used solely of refinancing the already budgeted programs from the summer 2020 stimulus package. Another problem is that the German government is somehow not putting the money enough into, for example, European energy and data and rail networks. And there are other political fields that somehow stand in contradiction to that sustainable investments. For example, in the area of environmental taxes, there has been a long discussion, but we are really not getting to a CO2 price, for example, that is really taking action and is creating effects that help in order to make that investments also more fluent and efficient. So that's something that we have to change in order, if we, for example, get in the government in Germany, that has to change. We need a stronger CO2 price, for example. And of course, there are other harmful subsidies which must be dismantled quickly. For example, the diesel privilege, but we also have other subsidies, for example, for fossil fuels for aviation, and that it's just blocking the efforts that we want to make on the transport sector to make it more climate friendly. Yeah, and there's another criticism because our German government always blocks an agreement on the digital tax, a European-wide digital tax. And the problem is that Amazon and other big international players on the digital level or market levels, they are the big winners of the last year's crisis, whereas our little and small markets in the smaller cities, for example, are the losers of the crisis. And we as Greens, we demand for years the implementation of a digital tax, in order to make Amazon and other digital players to pay taxes and also common taxes in the European Union. And our government so far has always blocked that. So we also hope to make a change there as Greens if we come in the national government in Germany to have another dynamic in the discussion on the European level about that tax. And the last point of the presentation is just what I have mentioned before, which is our perspective on a broader level on that resilience and recovery fund, because we think that it's crucial that we as European countries look together at on a broader scale how we can make it efficient and really make it happen that the people in our countries get affected from that investments, and also use synergy effects by cooperating also in investment projects. But as I mentioned, I have already told you what our demands are in the resolution that we adopted as a European Party family concerning the aims of that RRF. And you can also see the complete resolution on our homepage. And now I'm happy to answer your questions, and I hope that it was interesting to hear from my side a few points about the plannings and also our criticism of the current investment politics in the European Union.